we'll see. I don't know what God wants. But I think as a concept, something I'm strongly considering on my twilight years. Of course, I must put in the work. I mustn't
just go there for the ease of it.
Yeah, no. I think that's something I'll consider in terms of paving the way for the next generation. The whole planting seeds that you'll never sit under the shade of, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. No, you're right. I've had to teach. You just never taught your profession. You never taught a part of your skill formally. But the idea of translating a message, making things make sense to people, that's what ministry always wants. And I think if more and more people align themselves that way with, let me first just acquire the skill of communicating and teaching before I consider, okay, I would like a life in academia to give back, or opportunities where I can be helping the next crop make sense of everything. First, obviously looking at your own experiences and saying, here's what I recall, how I didn't feel supported, or the things that were a gap, and then in general dreaming of what actually is required in what I see as the future in this profession that I'm trained in. So that it's not only based on personal experiences.
No, that I see.
Okay, man. So today on the podcast we have KB. But which KB are you? Because there are different kind of KBs. Tell us which KB you are.
Yes, okay. So in the government, I'm Kabelo Ramodike. I am currently project manager for energy management and industrial automation company. And yeah, I'm someone who loves God. I love people. I love technology. I love nature. And I try to see each day how I can show up in a way that makes the world a little better.
Yeah.
So what I studied was Bachelor of Electrical Engineering with IT. So that's something that used to be available at the University of Johannesburg.
Yeah.
So essentially, you get an electrical engineering degree plus you get an IT degree. So Bachelor of Engineering plus BSc. It's pretty cool. I'll be honest though, just a small tidbit is when I actually saw it on the prospectus and said, oh, let me put that one.
Yeah.
It just says with IT endorsement. So I thought, oh, we'll just do a little bit of extra IT and I just code. Then when I got there at some stage, it's like, no, it's 2 degrees, fam. I was like, oh.
So you did 2 degrees at the same time?
2 degrees at the same time.
Was that not crazy?
I was, no.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it's something that, people, they look at it and they know that this one especially is one that's not for, how can I say, the faint-hearted per se, or for those who are not willing to get up again and again and again. Also, it really is important as far as possible that you enjoy
what you're doing.
For both for engineering and for computer science, it really helps, let me say, if you enjoy it. Because it otherwise gets frustrating, sometimes trying to figure something out or trying to just debug something, something you feel like it should be working, but then it's not working, but then it's in case anyone didn't get it, very proudly, it was at the University of Johannesburg.
The best one, guys.
Thank you so much. #UJ all the way.
Exactly. Our blood is orange.
Only. Thank you so much.
Stand. So there are different strands in engineering?
Yes.
What made you feel originally that I want to do electrical?
So in general, I like to tinker with things. I like thinking up technological things, and even just from like sci-fi and cartoons, like I thought about nanobots and all that. So at some stage when I was in grade 10, 11, right, I thought to myself, okay, what I'd really like to get into is especially maybe like sort of medical technology, like whether it be just more your practical like robot arms. So otherwise, like I just said now, like maybe nanotechnology going into the bloodstream, and then you're killing the little COVID in there, you know, with the robot or something. But yeah, so I thought, okay, how does someone get into that? And then
I when you wanted to be Tony Stark, right? Just own it. Eh?
Yeah, Tony Stark, you know.
This man wanted to be Tony Stark. That's all that KB wanted to be.
Listen, man. Yeah, we are inspired. Let's not
Okay.
So, yeah, that's essentially why I wanted to get into that. And then in SA, right, I thought that biomedical engineering would be a way to do that. But, so biomedical engineering is only at VITS, last I checked. And that, in any case, I think in second or third year, you have to choose between electrical engineering, pure, or otherwise going into medicine. You have to choose one of those two. So I said, okay, fine. Electrical engineering it is. Oh, I wasn't studying at this, obviously. This was just before I made my full choices.
Yeah.
And then I went to UJ because UJ has Bachelor of Engineering. It has BSc, Science. Engineering is practical, professional, good for the people that went to VITS, but yeah, no, us, we were practical.
In high school then, let's say, what then would you say were the subjects that convinced you that maybe you could actually do engineering?
So I did really enjoy physics. Physics I enjoyed a lot. Science in general I've always enjoyed.
Yeah.
Maths was a bit more challenging, ironically, because people are always like, oh, but if you can do physics, it like you definitely like maths is just because maths is in physics. I don't know, man. Like physics just clicked for me. Maybe it was because of how practical it was and how you assess situations and problem solve.
Yeah.
Maths was a bit more abstract, which I can't think both ways. But I like just very practical and analytical type of work. So yeah, those subjects I knew, and you know, I was able to do quite alright in those subjects.
Yeah.
And then also life science, actually, I changed to that in grade 11 from tourism.
Okay.
And I was able to do very well in that from the get-go as well. So when I just saw myself in these scientific and analytical and just like information and the way the world works type subjects, just like in them, that I like them and I do alright in them.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, no, cool. I feel like we can do something here. Only subject that I wasn't at my school, but I would have done if it was there, was IT. And that's why when I got to UJ, I saw IT endorsement. This is going to make up for
the IT I never got to do.
Exactly.
Okay. That when people see that you're good at maths and science and you're black, they tell you go do engineering. Were you one of those, or you genuinely knew what engineering was? It wasn't just because your marks were good and your teachers were like, you must do engineering, you'll make a lot of money.
So one thing I can say fortunately about my life, I don't know, it depends on how you look at it, but I've never really been told what to do.
Okay.
You know, for better or for worse, whatever I've done throughout my life has largely been my decision, my choice. So otherwise, circumstance, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, for instance, mom's a doctor. I don't know how long ago I just decided
not gonna be one.
I don't want to be a doctor per se. Not like it's not. I'm not afraid of blood or whatever. Nothing like that. I just okay. I shouldn't have done it, but like I pulled apart to tell what do you call it, a cell phone.
Yeah.
I sometimes try to just tinker with old radios and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I like technology. I like these concepts of just working with things and putting things together and being able to possibly create things that can help people and all that. So I wanted to do that. I cannot remember a teacher, a parent, like an aunt or uncle really telling me you should do this. Or, like maybe they'd ask me what I want to do and I'd be like, oh, I'm thinking of this. And then if you tell them engineering, obviously they're going to be like,
they're impressed.
Yeah, it's like, no one's going to tell me anything really. I think even when I was a child, just a small tidbit, like even when I used to say stuff like, I want to be a DJ, or I want to be make cartoons. No one told me anything. They didn't say, don't do that, my boy, you must get. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's other things to think about regarding that. But in general, I'm thankful that I've been able to sort of choose my own.
Choose your own path. All right. What would you say is one of the biggest myths about pursuing a career in engineering?
Maybe I think this is common across many, is that you always have to know what you're doing.
Okay.
Let me maybe go with that. Is that you always have to know what you're doing. I think especially for people that are in more scientific or mathematical or whatever types of fields, I think there's a tendency for us to like to have an answer in our minds per se, knowing where we're going to land before we actually start doing something. I think that's sort of a big tendency. It's not everyone per se. Now, there can be a shocker when you get to the working world. Again, this is for any field, but I think especially here, where you're just given stuff and then just figure out how to do something, or otherwise you must figure out actually what needs to be done. And what's important there is not to have the answer, but essentially to know what questions to ask.
Okay.
Essentially to know how to approach. That's the important thing that I think I've learned a lot of my in a lot of my experience, and this applies to life really, is it's better for us to say, what questions can I ask? What steps can I take right now? And then just trust the process. You know, we get a bit too obsessed with the outcome.
Yeah.
And sometimes that even stops us from moving, decision paralysis or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say you don't have to have all the answers, but ask the questions. I think at the core of it, engineering, science, whatever, just really needs you to ask questions, because by asking questions, we believe that there are answers out there. I believe we find them.
Is it true that you'll become rich if you're an engineer? Because that's what our teachers tell us.
The probability and possibility is high-ish. It's higher than some other fields, for sure.
Yeah.
But you do have to put in work. And it's really one of those fields that largely you get what you give.
Yeah.
So in terms of, what do you call it? The entry level, the base level, there you go, is decently high for engineering. But then there's going to be a cap if you don't progress, if you don't, So
imagine when I came, when are you gonna have a house and stay in city, bro?
Damn, son.
That's the only way they're gonna allow us there.
First question, do I want a house in State City?
You're an engineer! That should be the ambition. Come on, man. Black child, what you doing?
So, yeah, let's just say I'm putting in the work now. So I've spent a few years myself just seeing where I want to fit in within engineering, within the electrical space, within the automation space, all that stuff. And I really believe I'm getting there. Okay. So also God's plan, we'll see, man. But I'm seeing within the next 5 to 10 years, I'm intentional about a lot of change and progress, and putting value into the world. Let me say that. I'm intentional about that, and then I believe with all that comes whatever needs to come. So I'm very intentional. 5 to 10 years.
Okay. So in case someone doesn't now decide to listen to our full podcast convo, what would you say to some grade 11, maybe even grade 10 kid? They've been told you must go to engineering, you're very smart. What would be the advice for them in pursuing a career in engineering? What are some of the things you would say they must maybe consider or think through?
Good question. So for engineering, right, even within engineering there's a few different parts, but it's overall with engineering is what type of problems do you like to solve, if you like to solve problems at all. Some people actually just like to sort of follow a process and then just go through things. So some people like to just produce things for the sake of producing things per se and inspire creatively. To be fair, there's space for that in engineering as well. But so with engineering specifically is, do I want to go deeper and deeper into knowing something? Like example, do I want to really know how batteries work? Do I want to work on research in batteries and stuff like that? Do I want to provide battery solutions to people, and like sort of just me? So there's specialization in engineering, and then there's a bit more general work in engineering. Do you want to become a generalized expert in something and then be able to help others and lead others in growing in that? So lead a team, possibly lead a business, you know. So I think those are two very important questions we tend to ask in general in the profession, is do I want to specialize, or otherwise do I want to be a bit more general and lead others? And understanding that as you become a leader or whatever business, that you step away more from the technical aspects. It's still important for you to have the grasp of what the stuff means. So if someone comes to you and tells you something that they can't jerk you around, obviously, but but you do have to understand that you're more in the people business there. And then so I think those are things to consider. But engineering in general is, do I like working with steel, with circuits, with concrete, whatever it may be? Do I like working with substances and just putting things together out of that, growing things out of that, you know? I think those are important things to consider.
Subjects like math, actually, they're by engineering. When your mental health is not good, you will struggle to focus and be logical.
Yes.
And sometimes coincidentally, when our personal lives are a bit messy, or challenges at home, or sudden traumas, they just don't assist you when you're trying to do something that is so logically based, like a math or a physics. So for you in your degree, how are you managing your personal life and your mental health to not get out of whack, or when it would get out of whack, how did you get it back?
Very good question, that one, actually, because what's going on in the rest of your life, especially when you're doing like very logical stuff or analytical stuff, it really, because what it takes out of you in terms of your mental energy and capacity, it makes a difference, man. So for me, what I did was, I don't know. So here again, like the curiosity then played a role here in terms of, I would then go for consultations with the lecturer and say, hey man, can you help me understand this? Help us understand this. What do you want from us here? How does this thing work and whatnot? Because we'd see it one way in how he said it in class, or how it shows up in the workbook, and then he would say, okay, no, it's this and this and this, and then in this type of scenario, he'd give us different cases. So for me, it was to then ask questions and then just see what I can do about it. And